What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. Outside Lou Dort. He'll get the flyby. 3 on the way, and he rattles it in. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Lou Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast, coming to you live May 1st. It is officially NBA Draft Lottery Month. We are a proud part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, the official podcast of SI Thunder. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. We've got Nick Crane with me tonight.
Jordan Poole is really, really good.
We've got Justin Peabody.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Taylor Peterson.
Lou Dort is just Jordan Peele, but on the Jordan Poole, but on the I just saw that commercial, by the way. But on the Thunder, hot take.
Who's the Thunder's Keegan Michael Key?
I don't even know what that new Peele movie is about, but it looks cool.
Don't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Some
I'll just go in sight unseen.
Yep.
Looks very good. Nick, do you know what we're talking about?
I saw the trailer. Yes,
I think it's called.
There's the trailer, and there's like Steph walking into a
yeah.
random haunted barn. It's weird.
Yep,
I'm in.
Zero context. I'm all the way in. Yeah,
all the way in.
Hey, he makes some good stuff. Well, gentlemen, we have no updated Thunder news. I mean, it's the dead time after the season before the draft lottery, where there's really not a lot of Oklahoma City stuff to talk about. We do have a ton of really fun basketball happening right now, though. We will dive into the playoffs here kind of towards the end of the show. But we are a Thunder podcast, so we'll talk about some Thunder stuff. I have a question for you guys that I thought we could debate a little bit. I want to know, could this summer be the summer that we see Sam Presti actively trading future assets to move up in the draft? We talked about this last summer, but it didn't happen. I think a lot of us think that top 5 was just too hard to crack. The asking price was too high. Maybe there's a different viewpoint on this year's top 4. Last year, we also saw the Thunder do the opposite. They traded back to pick up additional assets. Is this season where we actively see the Thunder trade some of those future assets, that treasure trove of draft picks that they have, to climb up the draft board?
I hope so. I also hope that there's not a need to. That would be even nicer. I think it's easy to say yes right now because similar to last year, this time, it's a little bit unclear on who's where. Like there's some guys that could climb. There's some guys that could fall out. Like there's still that top 4 similar to last year. I think it was top 5 last year at this point. But I think over the next month with combines and workouts and interviews, it'll become a little bit more defined. And I think the answer could change a lot between now and June 23rd is draft day?
Yep. That's a really good point. Like I think of Scotty Barnes in that situation, Nick. Like at this point,
rookie of the year, he was supposed to be the consolation prize at 6.
Right, exactly. We were thinking Scotty Barnes at pick number 6, obviously, or outside of that top 5. Obviously, that was before the Thunder had pick number 6. But I think that's a really good point, and I think I'm with you there. Like, obviously, Presti's going to try. We even had people that we know that we were kind of like messaging with and talking with who said that apparently the Thunder were trying to move up, according to their sources. But it just kind of depends, like Nick said, with where everybody ends up post lottery and kind of how those prospects play out as well. So I think Presti is absolutely going to try. To Jacob's question,
I think the try is an absolutely. The will he is a bigger maybe. Obviously, I think Presti has just historically been pretty active on draft nights. Like he doesn't often just sit still. he's at least going to gauge the waters. Like he's going to be making lots of calls. I think we've said it before. If I could be a fly on the wall in Presti's war room on draft night, like what a dream that would be, because he's working the phones. I think of the scene in Moneyball where he's like going back and forth and kind of playing teams against each other. Like that's 100% how I picture Sam Presti. All that to say, I can almost envision a scenario with all the conversations that we've talked about recently about how good are the Thunder going to be next year? Are they going to be able to tank as much as they have the last 2 years? Maybe next year becomes a year where some of that war chest of assets becomes more valuable, because your own pick is likely not going to be as good unless they can pull off a historical feat of tanking with this roster. So your own draft pick's likely not as good. So maybe that's where some of those future assets come in. And when you look at next year's draft class, there's some very exciting prospects. So if you have a handful of first round picks, which nobody else can really offer, maybe you can go throw that to get into the top 5 and get somebody really exciting to add to this team, even if their own pick doesn't land there.
Would you hypothetically, talking about trading up, I'm almost thinking trading out could be another scenario. Not all 4 picks, but in a hypothetical scenario, if Dallas calls or somebody that's not an elite team, but they're probably a team that's gonna be the playoffs next year, they call and say, "Hey, we'll give you our 2023 pick for 30 and 34 this year," where there's a chance that it could be, kind of early 20s next year. Would you do that and trade 2 picks out and only come out with 2 rookies this year?
I could see it. I think
could definitely
30,
see it.
I think 30 is still, just in my eyes, there's a lot of value you can find there. I think we've looked at that historically. There's a lot of potential you can get there, but I think from a logistics sense, like you just said, only bringing in 2 guys versus like they brought in 4 this year. Like how many years in a row can you do that? I think that's intriguing for sure, especially if you could pull something with some value for next year.
Yeah, and there's 15 guys under contract next season as we sit today. So regardless of how many rookies, 1, 4, 5, whatever it is,
somebody has to be cut.
Yeah, someone's got to be cut for each of those roster spots. It could be like a Wiggins situation where there's a 2-way, but someone's going to have to be removed with 15 guys on the roster.
Yep,
for sure. Nick, that idea of trading back or trading out for a pick next year is fascinating. It kind of depends on the team, and there would be massive protections put on that. Like, let's do the same scenario, 30 and 34 for a
pick
I was going to say Milwaukee,
25.
but Milwaukee doesn't count because they don't have their own picks. We can stay with Dallas or we can go with Boston.
Yeah.
Like a top 20 protected. Would you trade 30 and 34 for a top 20 protected pick next year?
Absolutely.
I think I would do that, especially where the Thunder sit right now.
I would trade 30 and 34 for pick 25 or 26 this year, and likely that's where Boston's pick would fall next year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Let me throw, and we're kind of getting off topic here because there's some more thoughts I have on the trading up, but let's stay on the trade back for a second. What if there was an offer to trade pick number 12 in this draft to slide back to, I don't know, the Bucks pick at 24, and you get a lottery protected Bucks pick next year. So you trade 12 to move back to 24 and get a lottery protected next year.
Yeah, I'm with Nick. Nick shaking his head on the live stream for listeners.
You got to keep that lottery.
Agreed.
Why would you trade out of the lottery to get a non-lottery the next year?
I think I could see something where you trade back
2 for 1.
I mean, again, another trade man situation, right? But you already have so many of those, and I know Presti isn't very opportunistic, but I can see that being more of a situation where he's at pick 12. Let's say the Clippers pick stays at pick 12, which is very likely, and then the guy that they like, knowing Presti, is still going to be there at pick 13, 14, 15, 16 even. I can see him trading back in that situation to get an additional asset, although not nearly as good as maybe the one that you mentioned, Jacob, but maybe a team that's like, lottery protected. You get an additional pick 3 years down the road in order to trade back 3, 4, 5 spots, and you can still get the guy that you want.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5 is a different story. I think
Yep.
back 12 to 24, you're significantly losing value.
Hey, maybe we'll use pick 12 on a G League draft and stash. That'd be fun.
It would be.
Shout out Josh Eustace.
Back to the trading up aspect. How much do you guys think? Last year there was a very, very clear top 5, which actually didn't end up being the top 5 we thought it was going to be.
True.
But the top end of that draft was supposed to be like very, very special, especially with Cade Cunningham. It's shaping up to be a very, very special top end of that draft. I think we all have the thought that was basically uncrackable. That top 5 was uncrackable last year unless you did something incredibly drastic. Do you think the top 4 this year have that same type of vibe? Maybe they're not as good as last year's top 5, but it's like that kind of uncrackable bubble of those top 4. And you could trade from 7 to 5, but you're probably not busting into that top 4. Do you guys get that sense? How do you feel about that?
I think there's more positional implications on that. I think if you land pick 3 and you are not high, so basically, as it says today, you're getting the last of the bigs in that top 3, and you're not sold on whoever that is, I think you could trade pick 3 to get to maybe 4 or 5 and take the guard that you were going to take at 3 anyways. I think that could be a situation. I think 1 or 2 are probably uncrackable, but I think when you get to 3 and 4, there's a chance. Like even at 4, if you go Jabari, Chet, and then you're sitting there at 3 thinking they're going to take Paulo and they take Ivy, and that was your guy.
Yep.
You pivot to Shaden, he's probably not going to go forward in that situation. Maybe Paulo does, and maybe you trade it at 4. I don't know.
Yep. I think that's a great point. The, positional need for what teams are looking for could dictate some of that. I also think this wasn't really the question that you asked, but I every day that goes by, I'm feeling like Shaden Sharp is going to be this year's Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
And he's going to be the one that is outside, but like once you get him in a gym and get his measurables and go through that pre-draft process, like
draft night, like pick number 3 is thinking about Scotty Barnes.
That's exactly how I'm feeling right now.
I think I'm with both of you. But I do wonder, like, it depends on the offer as well. And I think about what, like, hypothetically, the Thunder were throwing out there for picks 1 through 3, 1 through 4. Would Presti be willing to, like, throw that same kind of offer out there for picks 1 through 3? Obviously, that depends on their big board, how they view some of these guys once they get them in the pre-draft workouts and the pre-draft interviews. But assuming they would, let's say that they would throw out, for example, hypothetically, Lou Dort and their pick to move up. Let's say they're at pick 6 again. Lou Dort, pick 6 to try and move up into that top 3. I think it's much more likely this draft for a team to buy on that offer than it would have been, say, last season. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at, Jacob. And I could definitely see, again, that all comes down to how the Thunder view those players up, towards the top of the board, who they see in front of them once the positioning happens. But I could see that happening. I think it's much more likely than it was last season.
Well, on the flip side, I think last year Thunder fans were going to raise hell if Shea was traded regardless.
I'm not talking about Shea.
No, I am.
Okay.
I think last year they would have raised hell, even if it was for Cade at 1. Shea for Cade straight up. There would have been some hell raised. Would it have been the right move? Maybe. I don't know if there's a guy in this class that I would even think about trading Shea for, which is another thing to think about here.
Yep.
If Presti does want to move into the top 3, that's a piece that is probably not being offered.
Yeah, well, and
I'm not even sure I
was originally thinking about not like the Lou Dort trade, Taylor, but trading future treasure trove of draft picks. Like, and I think, we kind of talked about is that top 4 bubble, like uncrackable if you're outside of it. I think it's interesting to debate, like, if you are inside of it, if the Thunder stay pat at 4, is there a way to move from like 4 to 2, 4 to 1? But also, I
there
think it
is.
also depends on what teams are ahead of you.
Yep.
Take the Orlando Magic, for instance. Like the Orlando Magic accumulated a nice little war chest of future draft capital from Denver and from Chicago in their moves at the deadline a year and a half ago. Maybe they aren't as likely to bite on a Sam Presti offer that is picks rich, right? Whereas, I don't know, I'm pulling up Tankathon here and looking.
Let's say the Cavs get lucky again, right? Like they end up super lucky, top 2 or 3. I think they'd be willing to take on a pick.
They could maybe be a team like that. Or what if it's like, I don't know, Indiana kind of recouped some picks as well. But what if it's like, what if Portland jumps to 2? Should Portland just make the selection, or do you take a pick rich offer from Oklahoma City and flip that for Jeremy Grant and get a little something on the side as well? You know, I think there's a lot of
that.
It kind of depends on who is in front of you, because each team has their own value on these things. And Justin, something you were talking about earlier kind of made me think about this, the whole like being a fly on the wall in Sam Presti's office on draft night. I have no clue how they evaluate talent, how they evaluate the value of draft picks. But I would imagine that the Thunder front office has like a number value based off analytics and history for each draft pick. And if a trade comes up where they can trade, you know, a pick that they value at like 37.4, but the 2 assets they're getting total up to 38, they're going to make that trade because it's a net. And I just imagine that they have some crazy ass algorithm formula BS
I was going to say the same
that
thing.
they cook up.
Didn't Presti even alluded to that in his exit interview?
I mean, not just the Thunder. All NBA teams are pretty heavy into data science. Like they're not going to Basketball Reference and looking at their per 36 or advanced stats. They've got their own stuff in house.
Well, Nick, pause. I think 29 teams do that, and the Kings are kind of up here.
Oh
all right,
gosh,
fair enough. I think there's one scenario.
Mike Brown.
Oh God.
And who was
Mark Jackson.
The third? Oh,
if they hire Mark Jackson, if I was a Kings fan, I'd have the shotgun in my mouth, man.
I already would.
We can't talk about the Kings in this podcast. It's just not allowed. So there's one option that we haven't talked about at all, like ever. And I think it's natural not to talk about it because it's not the fun thing to think about. But I want to do this rapid fire. I don't want to like debate or like go into like right, wrong. Let's say the Thunderland pick 5. I want each of you to name a player that you'd be comfortable / happy with the Thunder trading that pick for a player that's already in the league.
Okay.
Oh gosh, that's lot of players to think about.
Is that kind of your point? There's a lot of players.
Think about your favorite young players. Like who would you be happy with? Like that's realistic. Like not Luka, but like if you got a notification on draft night, the Thunder have traded pick number 5 for X player that's already in the league. Like who would that even be? Like is there somebody that you'd be happy with, or is drafting someone at 5 the only option here? That's something we haven't talked about at all.
I don't want Mitchell.
No,
but to your point, like Presti is the kind of GM who would know that player was even remotely available before any of us would. Gosh, on the spot, like that's really tough.
Here's a weird one.
I'll have an answer.
This won't happen, but Zion.
Ooh,
yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
That seems too.
So here's one that I think.
What if there's a falling out in New Orleans?
Know the name that Nick has in his mind.
Who is it?
James Wiseman.
No. I wouldn't trade Wiseman for 5.
Oh, really?
I think I would in this draft.
I wouldn't. I don't think I would.
I don't think you've seen enough of Wiseman to make that
I'm thinking about, and I think a year ago this is oh hell yeah. I think now it's like the Jonathan Isaac type guys around the
league. Look, from a basketball standpoint, yeah, but
from a basketball standpoint, that's the kind of guy that
he'd fit in Oklahoma. That's for sure. I think he's got a letter Q taped to the back of his car, probably.
Miss.
What'd you guys do for Onyeka Okongwu?
See that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's very
Onyeka
interesting.
Okongwu is
is
a guy I've liked
interesting.
for a long time. I
That's
don't think
interesting.
Patrick Williams is available for that.
What
type
about
of trade.
I wouldn't do it for a Conway though.
Gosh, I'm blanking out his name now. The Cleveland guy that can't shoot. He was their
Isaac
top.
Okoro?
Another one.
Yeah, I think
like
I'm
maybe
out.
maybe the Cavs say we want to rebrand.
You're right.
And
Like
he's not a guy that
you're,
fits us.
You're on the
you
right
know?
track. No. Give me. I think there's going to be like the thing about this draft is not it's necessarily weak. It's that there's so many unknowns that like somebody's going. It's going to be like the 2013 like Giannis draft where
And Presti loves that draft. Presti,
yes,
at
and
one
that's
point,
why I
had like
don't
half
want
of
to
that
trade these
goddamn
picks.
draft class
I
on
do
his
not want to
team.
trade these picks unless you're trading up. I don't want to trade these picks.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and Nick, like, if Isaac Okoro was available for pick 5, I'm taking Shaden Sharp.
Mhm.
There's a much higher ceiling there.
Even Sharp's gone. I'm taking.
You assume Shaden Sharp's going to be there.
True.
The-
Then I'm
that-
taking Jaden Ivey.
I agree with
There's
you.
still a much
Yeah.
higher ceiling
Yeah.
there.
That's my point. I think if Sharp goes 1 through 4 and somebody else is sliding down, I'm taking out players like that's.
Yeah.
sliding
I think Sharp being cleared for this draft is a big time gift for the Thunder, because that just adds one more top level guy. So now instead of having a group of 4, maybe you have a group of 5, right? The chat is hopping right now with a lot of questions about picks. So let's burn through these real quick. Big Mike and Z says, Presti seems to love drafts that everyone else hates. How much higher can they get with pick 30 and the second rounders, which I think they only have one this year, 30 and 34.
Yeah.
Where can that get you?
That'll get you in the mid to late 20s, back in the first round.
Yeah, I was going to say 25.
I think 25 is even a little ambitious.
Yeah. They can get you back in the first round. I mean, somebody, especially if that player, if you can tell them that the player that they want, that the opposing team wants, it will still be there. You're not going to take that team's player.
Yeah. Big Mike also asked, can we give a pick to Utah to remove some protections on the pick they owe us in the future?
You definitely can. Is it worth it? Depends on the pick, but yeah, no, you can do that.
I don't know if Utah's going to unprotect a pick at this point.
I wouldn't.
Nope.
If I was Utah, I'm not unprotecting anything with
No.
the state of that franchise.
No.
If I'm Utah, burn it to the ground.
Stephen Graham says 12 and 30 to move up a spot or 2. Is that possible?
Yeah.
I think so. I think a good example is Jacob's scenario with the Blazers. Like if they want to put together an enticing package, and maybe the team like Detroit, obviously, who they trading for Jeremy Grant, wants more picks, like that could be a way to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if 12 and 30 can jump you, but if it's 12, 30 and then like another asset,
Sure.
I think you could climb to like 9 or 8.
Yeah.
Josh 90, how do you all feel about the second round matchup in the playoffs so far? Both Golden State and Milwaukee both have stolen home court advantage. I didn't realize that wasn't a draft question. Josh, we will answer that soon. Blaine Buchanan says it is definitely easier this year to trade up than last year, but I'm with Nick. Top 2 is probably more so like the top 5 last year. I think
That's a good point.
that is interesting because I think depending on who gets one of those top 2 picks is going to determine who goes top 2.
Yep.
I think there's a real chance that Chet slides to 3.
Yep.
I was
I think
gonna
there's
say
a real
it's-
chance that Paulo ends up at 3.
It's like top 3.5 or
If-
so.
If there was a guy that's consensus top 5 right now that falls out of the top 5, who would you guess it is? Is it Paulo?
No, I think it's probably Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey?
I do too.
Okay.
Shit, it might be Chet.
I don't have a
Ooh.
counter argument.
If
I was just more
NBA
genuinely curious.
doctors get in there and say like his frame is too narrow, his shoulders aren't wide enough, his hips aren't wide enough, he's not going to be able to put on the weight you want, there's a chance he slides a little bit.
How
True.
many guys in history? I've talked about this before. I don't think there's many guys in history where their slender frame has limited them that much when they're this type of prospect.
I agree.
Same shit was being said about KD.
Yeah.
I also, again, huge rabbit hole to go down, but I talked about this on the Friday Spaces. We've talked a lot about this on the podcast. Like NCAA basketball is just kind of a different animal compared to the NBA. So much so now that like there's so many of these elite prospects that are just pigeonholed on their respective teams. And again, I'm not going to dive down this right now, but I think Chet absolutely fits in that category.
Brett, I think it's pronounced Bluma. Which players have the highest likelihood of being used as a trade chip on draft day?
Ooh, that's a fun question. Dort, right?
Dort. I wonder, is Dort's value less this year than last year?
Justin, I think very much so, because last year you were getting a Lou Dort for 1.4 million. Yep. This year you're getting a Lou Dort that you have to extend or run the risk of losing for nothing in a one season.
I feel like he's not the obvious. He's not the obvious throw in this year like he was last year.
Is that throw in now Trey Mann?
That was the next guy.
Does he assume that position?
I don't want to see him leave, but yeah, no, that's the next.
I don't know if he has the value outside of Oklahoma City that he does in Oklahoma City yet.
It wouldn't be as high necessarily, but I think it could be
still high. It's got to be Kenrich still.
It's a good one. Maybe even Poku.
No
one
wants Poku outside of Oklahoma
I think
City.
People.
Chris Parker asks, "What about DeAndre Ayton for the number 5 pick?"
Oh,
hell yeah!
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I think you might have better odds of getting Zion.
Yeah.
Big Mike and Z says Kuminga for pick 5. I don't think
that's
the
an
Warriors
interesting
do that.
one.
I think the Warriors tell you no.
I kind of feel that way too, but I also think like that's probably equal value. I like that.
Yeah, it is that's definitely
tough.
interesting.
I disagree that the Warriors probably say no.
It's one of those trades where I think both teams just don't even entertain that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think neither team is interested. All right. Well, talking about all these draft picks and a lot of the comments, the questions in the comments kind of alluded to this as well. Guys, I wanted to play a little game where we evaluate OKC's future draft assets. We're talking about, could they trade these draft assets to move up in this draft? What are their value, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a list of all of the Thunder's future first round picks. We're not going to do the second rounders because I don't want to be here till midnight. We're only doing the first rounders. And I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to read off one of the picks and everything that goes with that pick. And you guys are going to drop it into one of 3 buckets. And this is kind of based on what other teams would assess the value of this pick at. Okay. The buckets are like it, love it, and gotta have it. Which is also how
this is from the other 29 teams' point of view. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Why am I forgetting the ice cream company's name?
Cold Stone.
There you go. Thank you. Cold Stone Creamery has the like it, love it, gotta have it instead of small, medium, large. Which
really?
The great
I didn't know that either. And I've been to Cold Stone.
Claim that is crackhead terminology, which I completely agree with. So I'm going to give you guys an asset. You tell me which bucket does it fall into from the perspective of the other teams that could trade for it. Is it we like it, we love it, or we got to have it? First one is the Los Angeles Clippers pick that the Thunder own in this draft, pick number 12.
Like it, probably.
Yeah, I think that's a like it.
Ooh, see, that's a love it for me. If you're in the lottery, love it.
I think I'm with Taylor. I think it's a love it. It's a medium. It falls in the middle. Next one,
Fair.
The Phoenix Suns 2022 pick that is owned to the Thunder. This is pick 30 in this upcoming draft.
That's a like it.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely like it.
Easy enough. All right, let's move on. 2023 first round pick from Denver. It is lottery protected in 2023, 2024, and 2025, after which it becomes a couple of second round picks. Which bucket does this one fall into?
I think that's also like it. Like the 2023 draft is pretty deep. Or sorry, there's a lot of early talent that seems to make you think it will be deep. We hope that continues, obviously, when we're to this point next season. but lottery protected. You like it. I'm not sure you can say you love it just because, at this point, a year out, it looks like it's going to be a quote unquote deep draft.
Yeah. I think for no other reason than Denver's not going to be bad enough for that pick to be worth a lot. So yeah, like A-Man says in the chat, Denver not going to be in the lottery.
Agreed.
The like it bucket as well. Don't have any gotta have it's yet. We only have one love it. The next one, a Detroit Pistons 2023 first round pick. It is protected 1 through 18. And then the next year, 1 through 18. The next year, 1 through 13. The next year, 1 through 11. The next year, 1 through 9. You would assume at some point that pick actually becomes a first round selection. After all of those protections, it turns into a second round pick.
That was well done by Presty.
Love it.
I was going to say love it too, Nick. Man, like there is a very, very, very likely probability that falls outside of the top 18 pick. But like this team is talented. Let's say they get lucky in the lottery this upcoming draft. There is a world where they get impatient. They try and push all the chips to the middle of the table around their 2 draft picks of Cade and whoever this upcoming player is. And I think I'm going to love it as well.
I agree. Love it.
You're basically guaranteed, unless it goes all the way to that second, you're guaranteed a top 20 pick. And
also a good point.
Great.
Not even just, this upcoming draft. Good point.
The next one, a 2023 Los Angeles Clippers pick swap.
Gotta have it. If you can have a pick swap in the future, you have no idea what's going to happen given that season. We saw what happened this season, obviously, with some injuries with the Clippers. If that falls a different way with some of those, with the way that they build their team, we could be looking at even a higher pick for the Thunder right now. You've got to have those pick swaps in the future.
I was going to say the same thing. I've built so much false hope on the Clippers over the last few seasons, and I'm looking to do the same through 2023. There's a world where the 2023 Clippers don't have PG or Kawhi on that team. And that's a non-zero possibility. Like that, there is a chance that happens. And if that happens, I absolutely want to have that pick swap.
Just to make sure before we move on, you guys know that we're talking about a draft that's 1 year away whenever they will have PG and Kawhi on the roster next season, right?
They might.
Kawhi is like James Harden. You don't know if he's
that's exactly what I'm getting at.
Like he wants to go and hang out
Nick,
with rap
Nick,
stars.
will you talk some sense into these guys real
Does
quick?
he even like basketball?
I've got a different argument. I only like this, not even because of who the Clippers have. It's a swap. How bad would the Clippers have to be for you to actually want to swap OKC's pick with them?
But you're not OKC in this scenario. You're some other team.
I guess that's true from the other 29 lens.
Yeah.
Still,
exactly.
But you're also not getting an extra asset.
We've seen
it's just a swap.
I think this year was their floor. We're looking at next
year.
Agree. Like you're basically saying at worst they're 12. And that took a lot to get to 12. So probably at worst they're 14. You're like a 50-50 chance that you're even going to be able to swap with them.
My counterpoint to that is we thought we saw the floor of PG and OKC the first year, and then we got lower the second year. I'm not a believer.
I don't believe in Kawhi either. I'm with
exactly.
you.
Like I'm dead serious when I
don't trust his health. I don't trust his commitment.
It's a non-zero chance.
Kawhi Leonard,
those guys,
one of the most underappreciated players to ever play the game of basketball.
Well, you have to actually play to be appreciated.
Exactly.
He's got rings with 2 different.
I'd appreciate
teams.
him if he, actually played basketball.
I think the only way you get to swap this pick is if your own pick is like 28, 29, or 30, because I think the Clippers pick is going to be like pick 25 next year. I think they're going to be like incredibly good. This would be a like it at best.
I also had the Clippers and the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals before this season. And the Brooklyn
I'm
Nets
with you,
winning the
Taylor.
finals.
All right. The next asset is a 2023 Washington Wizards first round pick. It is protected in the lottery in 2023, 1 through 12 and 24, 1 through 10 in 2025, 1 through 8 in 2026. So this one keeps rolling over and rolling over and rolling over. If it never conveys, it becomes a second round pick. But I believe this one will eventually convey. At some point, the Washington Wizards have to not be a bottom 5 team.
Gotta have it. Got to have it. That is outside of next year, a lottery pick.
I kind of think so too.
Those
I'm
are
with
lottery
you, Nick.
picks. Like we
I'm
talked
with you,
about
too.
loving the Denver picks. It was top 20. This is unless somehow it conveys next year and the Wizards make the playoffs, you are guaranteed a lottery pick. I mean, not guaranteed. Theoretically, it could roll. But let's be real here. That's a lottery pick. You got to have
Yep.
those. You got
I would put this
Especially
one in the love
Washington.
it. I don't see another team saying oh, I'm willing to give up something really good because that is something I absolutely have to have. Now, I think the way the protections are set up on this pick, if Washington wants to trade a future first in the next 6 years, they would have to unprotect that pick.
Yep.
And so you have a chance to get an unprotected Washington pick. That would be a gotta have it for me. But a pick that has protections where you're essentially never getting a top 10 out of it, I would put this one just at love it, not at gotta have it.
I think I agree.
I left you guys
Split.
speechless. You're welcome.
It's split.
You're welcome.
50-50.
Next one, a 2024 Houston Rockets first round pick. It is 1 through 4 protected. And then after that, it becomes 2 seconds. This one worries me because I don't know if you're going to get this pick. This might be 2 seconds
This
because
is
Houston
either going
sucks.
to be great for you in that 2024 draft, or it's just I'm with you. I'm going to go ahead and say I love it because of the unpredictability of Houston.
The whole Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul trade, at the surface level seemed so awesome, but we could theoretically look back and be like, that turned into nothing of value.
Yeah.
Basically, it was a Chris Paul
true.
Russell Westbrook swap. Good point.
Right.
Which I think in itself is
you got
point,
assets on the flip
not
side.
as
Russ's
sweet
value
on the surface
deteriorated.
potentially.
Sure.
Yeah.
We just talked about how front offices probably have these crazy algorithms on how they value stuff. At worst, a top 4 protected Houston pick, at the very worst, has a 50% chance at being pick number 5.
Yep.
That's
Because
why
if you
I love it.
if you are the worst team in the league,
Yep.
there's a 52% chance that your pick ends up at number 5.
Yep.
It's a high risk, high reward pick.
Yeah, there's no middle ground on this one.
To carry through the ice cream analogy, it's like ordering mint chocolate chip. I love mint chocolate chip. I stand by the fact that Brahms mint chocolate chip, best flavor they have in the whole store. However, shut your mouth, Taylor. However,
My wife agrees. I just hate mint. Anyways.
There is certain places where you order a mint chocolate chip and it's like eating Crest toothpaste and chocolate chips. And it's just, they didn't nail the mint. And so it's very high risk, high reward. When it's right, it's right. But when it goes south, it's no good. And you wish you would have just got chocolate.
So how do you evaluate the pick then, Justin? Does it fall in the love it category for you because it's such a crapshoot?
I put it in love it because I'm not going to give up a ton to get it, like you said. But it's higher than a like it because there is that chance that it's going to be that sweet Brahms mint chocolate chip, and it's just going to make my night. Sponsor us, Brahms.
That's right.
be
There
incredible.
we go.
Being
Well
a middle
done.
ground pick, it's got to be the middle ground answer. So love it.
I like that. All right. Hopefully we can all agree on this next one. A 2024 Los Angeles Clippers unprotected first round pick.
Oh, gotta have it.
I think this is
Unprotected?
unprotected. It's 2 years out. Kawhi might be dead in 2 years. We all might be dead in 2 years.
You might have a knee replacement at that point. We all might be
Indeed.
dead at
Yeah,
2 years.
we're not called the Unprotected Podcast for nothing. I think this is a gotta have it.
Change our name right now.
Nick, you agree with us?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
unprotected.
Anything that's unprotected is just you.
That's what they called Taylor
That's
in
what she
college.
said.
No, I think this is a no-brainer for sure.
The next asset, somebody mentioned this in the chat earlier, a 2024 Utah Jazz pick. It is 1 through 10 protected in 24, 1 through 10 protected in 25, 1 through 8 protected in 26, at which point it becomes nothing. It just fizzles out into nothingness. It doesn't even turn into a second round pick.
This is via favors.
This is the Favors trade.
That's a pretty
that's a
good
really
pick
good
for
pick.
Favors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
For just
me and
taking
Nick-
him on.
Guarantee that it's never going to be top 8 ever. The odds are it's never going to be top 10.
Yeah.
Now, 2024, we can debate this for a long time. I think we're all in agreement that Utah's got to do something this summer. They got to blow something up. They got to trade someone away. They got to bring someone in. They got to do something. If things fall apart in Utah, this could end up being a really good pick. But if things fall apart too far for Utah, this could end up literally being absolutely nothing.
Right.
Yep.
They either have to go all the way in or don't. Like, maybe it would be smart to trade both Gobert and Mitchell. But I don't think you can do one or the other because of this reason. I think I'm gonna go love it. I'm like on the line between love it and gotta have it, but I think this is still love it just because of the not quite as many protections and flexibility as that Detroit pick that Nick and I said gotta have it.
I think maybe I just have a different perspective than the rest of you guys. If any pick is protected, I don't think it's got to have it by any other team in the league.
That's fair.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
Sounds like we're all going love it on this one.
It
All right.
was a given the circumstances, even it's a love it. Like it was a throw in. Take this guy's $10 million contract away from us so we can go lose
For
in
the
the first
Thunder,
round.
I think it's for the Thunder. It's a love it.
Yeah.
For the rest of the league,
that's the
I
issue
think
I'm
it's
having.
borderline
with this
like it.
exercise. Good point.
Next one. This one is very convoluted. This is a 2025 pick swap. The Thunder get the best pick out of their own, the Houston Rockets, or the LA Clippers. But the Houston side of it is protected 1 through 10. So if Houston's pick is 1 through 10, the Thunder cannot swap with Houston. But if Houston is outside the top 10, then they can swap it with Houston or the Los Angeles Clippers. So this is basically like a 3-way pick swap where the Thunder get the best pick. Unless the best pick is Houston in the top 10, then they can't get it.
That's still so
How
much
on earth
flexibility.
do you even understand that?
Right.
I know it's crazy.
It's just like
It's like the
you
Thunder
predict
has
as much
pick
as you want.
12, Houston has pick 9, so the Thunder can't swap with Houston, and the Clippers have pick 16, so the Thunder just keep their own pick.
Yeah.
I like it simply because who the hell knows what's going to happen?
Yeah,
See,
I'm like it as well because there's so much parameters on it, and again, it's a swap. It is not a draft pick.
True.
By the time you get to 2025, the Clippers will be rebuilt after the Kawhi PG exodus that's incoming in the immediate future. That has been foretold on this here podcast. They'll be set. They'll have another star by then, so that their value is worthless.
I just like that flexibility though, so far out. Like the whole reason we're having this debate is because of that flexibility, which is why I love it. I think that's so creative, and these are the kind of things that keep small markets like OKC relevant long term. I'll go love it here. Not gotta have it though.
2025 Miami first round pick. It is protected 1 through 14, and then it becomes completely unprotected.
Like it.
Yeah.
Miami is so well run, the premier destination. They're never
On
going to
the
be
beach.
They're never going to be bad. They were a middling team for a long time. They're never going to be bad.
What if Pat Riley isn't there in 2025?
They're never going to be bad.
I don't think it matters because
They're in Miami.
Same thing with the Lakers. Yeah.
I don't know. The Lakers sucked for quite a while because of bad management.
I say love it.
Still
on
laying
this one.
LeBron.
I say love it. I hear you. I think it's, a low likelihood that they probably are cratered by 2025, but same conversation we had earlier, like the opportunity to get an unprotected pick, like what if scenario. Like Jacob saying, what if Pat Riley leaves, Jimmy Butler dies, and Tyler Hero is you're like on a max contract for,
Or Tyler
going into-
Hero is rapping and strung out on crack cocaine.
Those two
Just
things
like
are
James
not
Harden.
mutually exclusive. That's what I'm getting at. You've got like Tyler Hero's mixtape dropping while he's, putting up 20 points on 36 shots.
I think it's a fascinating one.
And
I think I'm going
Presti
love
is-
it on this
Sam
one.
Presti is taking over for Pat Riley.
Oh,
God.
easy.
Oh.
Next asset, a
Fans
2025
like Stan.
Philadelphia
Fans like
first round pick. This one is 1 through 6 protected in 2025, 1 through 4 protected in 26, 1 through 4 protected in 27. The odds of that actually conveying as one of those picks is very, very high.
Yeah, gotta have it. Very low projections. Way out in the future. Gotta have it.
I love it.
I
I
love it.
agree. I say love it.
Again, if it's got protections on it, it's not got to have it.
They
2026 Houston first. This one is 1 through 4 protected in 2026. If it does not convey, it becomes 2 seconds.
Same
They're
thing
gonna be-
as the 2024 version.
I think this one's less valuable than 2024 because
Yeah, I was
they've
gonna
got
say,
2
like it.
more years to build it up.
Yeah.
The league is structured in the way for teams to middle out, crossover, new team. I mean, we saw this year, Phoenix, Memphis, like these teams are horrible, and they're back to the top. So
I kind of agree with you, Nick. I think this one's too far down the line for a rebuilding team that they could be. The pendulum could have swung the other way. I'm still putting it at love it, though, because it is a very, very small protection. All right, last one, a 2026 Los Angeles Clippers unprotected pick.
Gotta have it.
Unprotected, you gotta have it. Yeah.
Yep,
That far
absolutely
out,
got to have it on this one.
unprotected. Yep.
In my
Easy.
Clippers fanfic, by 2026, the next iteration will have failed, and this Clippers team will find themselves middling at the bottom. And OKC's, walking in with the third best odds in the lottery in 2026, while they are coming off their finals appearance. To be clear,
Right. Absolutely. They already have a ring.
right?
Top 3 pick.
I love it. Okay, so interesting. We valued a
love
lot
it,
of these.
You love it, or you gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
said
The
you love
pick, I gotta have it. The exercise, I just love it. I don't gotta have this a second time. I'm good. But we valued very few things as like gotta have it, as like I would call those like blue chip assets. But we did have a lot of things that we loved, and then I think mostly a lot of things that we liked. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how other front offices value those assets moving forward. Maybe as early as a month and a half from now, whenever we are at the NBA draft and the Thunder try to trade some of these future picks to climb the draft board. So I think that's going to be really, really interesting. Speaking of the draft board, we're going to take a peek at that. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment to tell you about the sponsors of the show. What's up, Thunder fans? This is Jacob from the Uncontested podcast, and I'm here to let you know that we have fully redesigned our merch store to get you the best Thunder swag available. Just visit cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested podcast to find all of our new designs. That's cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested podcast to find new drops like Josh Giddey's Wizard of Oz or an ode to the Trey Man Step Back. We've also got all the classics like Dortal Combat, Liu Tang Clan, and everyone's favorite MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The best part? You can get any design and the style of apparel you want. So if you're gearing up for the summer and want a tank top, needing a hoodie for the winter in Australia, or you're wanting a Pokemon onesie for your baby, we've got you covered. Make sure to go to cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested podcast to get your new Thunder gear today. All right, gentlemen. We've been talking draft all night. Let's continue to do so. But this time, we are going to pull up the Tankathon page. We're going to do a lottery sim here. And as we sim this lottery and we get a top 14 in whatever order it comes into, we're going to conduct ourselves a mock draft just in the lottery. All right. Since I have executive decision on this podcast, courtesy of myself, I am giving Justin pick number 1.
Oh,
What?
yeah.
I am giving Nick pick number 2.
Unbelievable.
I am giving myself pick number 3, which means Taylor gets pick number 4.
Love
I
it.
would like to trade my unprotected 2023 uncontested mock draft pick.
To move up in this one.
Get out of here.
All right, you guys ready for the sim?
Yes.
Ready.
I always get this bad knot in my stomach and feel like I'm going to poop and throw up at the same time whenever I click this button.
Nothing
anyone else
compared to May
experience that?
17th. Nothing compared to May 17th.
Yeah, May 17th, I might
Ugh.
just take 2 Ambien and wake up the next day and find out what happened. That might be the best.
And then
thing.
take 2 more after.
Here we go. All right, here's our spin. Justin, you have pick number 1, which belongs to the Detroit Pistons.
Well, with pick number 1, I'm going to select Chet Holmgren.
All right, Chet and Cade Cunningham together.
Chet and
I like it.
Cade.
Nick, you have the second pick, which is the Houston Rockets.
The best player in the draft, Jabari Smith Jr.
Ooh.
Okay. The Orlando Magic have pick number 3. Leaves Paulo Banchero for them if they want him. I'm not going to take him here, though.
You're going to go Ivy here. You've been doing this, Jacob.
I'm going to go Shaden Sharp here.
Hey.
No.
I think they need to
Curveball.
take a swing on like the highest upside guy possible.
Yes.
Specifically a wing / guard, not a 4, which they have a plethora of already. We're going to go Shaden here. So just to make
love
sure
that.
I have this right, I'm going to keep track of these. We went Chet, and then we went Smith, and now we have Sharp. And Taylor is on the board. Pick number 4, our first team, our second team to jump, I guess. The Sacramento Kings, Taylor, at pick number 4.
I'm so sorry, Paulo. I am so sorry. You're destined to die here in Sacramento. It's your fate. It makes a lot of sense. Honestly, he would fit perfectly
Kind
with
of
this team.
fits.
But yeah, it fits so well. Personality, style of play, the
Yikes.
versatility. He actually would be fantastic with Sacramento. Like, there's a real world where if Paulo were to fall to Sacramento at 4, I think they could really take a leap. But a lot of things would have to fall correctly. Like, I think with Paulo, fit and the franchise that he's drafted to is really important. And I just like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, Kang's gonna Kangs, and I just don't trust Sacramento to develop him. Sorry, Paulo.
Justin, you get pick number 5, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder, in my nightmare
Ooh.
scenario where Shaden and the 3 bigs are off the board.
Yeah. I was just about to say that.
Trade back.
Yikes. Wait, Jaden's on the board, right?
Jaden
Yeah,
Ivey
Ivy's
is.
still available.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'd probably go Jaden Ivey, but I don't feel great about it. But like, you have to.
He's the best player left on the board by far.
You have to. Yep. You have to, and you figure
the
it
fit
out.
is not clean. But yeah, you have to do it. Nick, you get the Indiana Pacers at 6. This one's an easy one to me. I'm interested to see who you're going to go with.
I would not go with this guy, but I think it's like it makes sense for them. Keegan Murray.
Yeah,
That's-
that is
yeah,
such
that was
a
my guy
Pacers
here.
pick. Such a Pacers pick. But I agree with you, Nick.
Totally agree. The next pick is the Portland Trail Blazers. I think this pick probably gets traded on draft night if this is where they land. But I am going AJ Griffin here. I think this makes sense. I think this might be the best landing spot for Griffin, playing next to a guy like Dame Lillard, where he's not going to be required to go off the dribble much to play make. He gets to do what he did in college, which is spot up with that awkwardly wide base and just stroke it from three, where he shot 45%. I think him playing next to Dame is probably like the best case scenario for him. So I'm going AJ Griffin here at 7. Taylor, you get pick number 8, which is the New Orleans Pelicans.
I'm really, really torn here, especially assuming that Zion does come back and does not request a trade and is healthy. A lot of assumptions there. But regardless, obviously a team that took a big step. They're going to look for somebody who can contribute immediately, but also can grow with some of these young guys on their current squad. I'm kind of torn between like Sohan, Mathurin, even Dyson Daniels. I think I'm going to go ahead and go. I think I'm going to go Dyson Daniels here. I kind of like that fit for the Pelicans. Some versatility that they don't have. Somebody you can play not only at the guard position, but also the wing. And a strong point of attack defender, which I think is the biggest thing for them that they could really use and benefit from. And I'm just really high on Dyson Daniels in general. So I'm going to go Dyson Daniels here. But
I think he could climb.
Pick.
I think he could climb. And Taylor, I'm with you. I think this is a great fit. A guy that'll set the table for everybody else on that team. I really like that.
True.
Justin, you're up at 9, the San Antonio Spurs.
This is tough too because of fit. Because I really like Mathurin, but I wonder if the Spurs would look more for a front court player.
It's a good point.
But I don't love the front court players available right here. So I'm going to stick with Mathurin.
All right. I think that's
I like
fair.
Mathurin in the Spurs system. Like that's a fun fit.
I feel like I think it's the right pick, Justin, but that just becomes so redundant for them. You have Mathurin, you have Keldon Johnson, you have oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the guy from well, you have Primo, you have who's the guy from Miami that used to have Lonnie Walker the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, whichever number he is, I can't remember.
Depends on his hair.
DeJounte Murray. You have a whole bunch of those 6'5", 6'4", 6'6" guys.
Yep.
I guess
I think they probably
you can never have too many, right?
They're right there. Yeah.
True.
Nick, you get the New York Knicks. Perfect fit for you.
You skipped
number
Washington.
11.
You skipped Washington.
Oh, I did skip Washington. I'm sorry. You get pick number 10, the Washington Wizards.
They need somebody that's got a chip on their shoulder, will be physical, the anti-Porzingis, durable. That's Jalen Duren.
Okay.
I like that pick. I like that a lot.
We will pencil Jalen Duren in. That puts me on the board. The New York Knicks. We've got some players that are still here that are sliding a little bit. I think I'm just going to go probably BPA here and go Johnny Davis.
Okay.
Put him next to RJ Barrett in that backcourt and see what happens. That means Taylor gets the Oklahoma City Thunder at pick number 12.
I have
There's a right answer here, Taylor.
Oh,
is there?
See, there's two players I am flirting with here as Sam Presti.
I know who Nick is thinking,
and I am torn. Yes, I know who Nick is thinking. I know who Jacob is thinking. And I am torn between both of them.
I don't even know who he's thinking, so enlighten me.
Look, Sohan is still on the board, right?
I think that's Nick's guy.
Oh no, I think Nick's guy is. Oh wait, no, sorry. Yes, that is Nick's guy. I was thinking your guy was Jang. We're the two guys that I'm torn between here. I think I am going to go ahead and go Sohan. I think that fits perfect here with this Thunder squad, especially at pick 12. Just ton of versatility. Technically has the build of like a power forward. Can like compete on the defensive end with bigger players, but also just presents so much versatility on the offensive end outside of the scoring. That's kind of his base question mark, and I'm really curious to see how that develops. Still, just a ton of upside. Sohan very much feels like a Thunder player. And here at 12, I think that's a great pick for OKC.
I think he'll be what we thought Aaron Gordon could be.
Yeah, I think
That's
I
fair.
like that.
You know, I heard Sam Vecini the other day say Jeremy Sohan. That's his first name, right? Jeremy?
Yep.
That Jeremy Sohan is like Scotty Barnes, just not as good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the
Ooh.
Thunder absolutely
That's fair.
loved Scotty Barnes last year.
What makes
Yep.
me most excited about him is that he's Polish, and we could have a lot of cool T-shirts with some Polish guys on there.
Polish sausage.
Whoa, easy.
Jesus. Justin, you
T-shirts.
are up Charlotte Hornets at pick 13. I think there's a pretty easy shoe-in on this one, but I'm interested to see who you take.
I'm again, I feel like they need a big Mark Williams, I think, for Hornets.
I think that makes way too much sense. And then Nick, you get the last pick of the lottery, pick number 14, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Mm,
I have one that I think is
Me
seamless here as
too.
well.
And I know exactly who you're thinking of, Jacob.
everyone's gonna say Agbaje. I know.
Yes,
I know.
yes.
It's not who I'm gonna go with though.
Oh, I love it.
Um,
Burn it down.
I think that as many forwards as they have, Tari Eason is still an impact player that could make some sense.
I'm falling on Easton a little bit, but I'm with you.
I kind of like the idea of keeping Malachi Branham in Ohio.
That could be something. Why not? Yeah, I guess if you want a 40, you go Liddell. If you want a guard, you go Branham.
So you're going Eason?
I like
Is
Branham a
Eason enough?
lot.
Yeah.
All right. So to recap our mock draft here, Detroit Pistons take Chet at 1. The Houston Rockets take Jabari Smith Jr. at 2. Orlando takes Shaedon Sharp at 3, the first surprise of the draft. Sacramento Kings at 4 take Paulo Banchero. The Thunder at pick number 5 take Jaden Ivey. At 6, the Indiana Pacers take Keegan Murray. 7, AJ Griffin ends up in Portland. New Orleans Pelicans at pick 8 take Dyson Daniels. San Antonio gets Ben Mathurin at 9. At 10, the Washington Wizards select Jalen Duren. At 11, the Knicks take Johnny Davis. At 12, the Thunder get Jeremy Sohan. At 13, the Charlotte Hornets take Mark Williams. And at 14, the Cavs get Tari Eason.
I think this draft is just so team position dependent, right? Like where do these teams end up?
And like which
change
teams
drastically.
are just looking at BPA versus which teams are actually trying to fill a role. Like
Right.
I think teams like Charlotte and Cleveland very much trying to fill a role. I think a lot of the other teams are best player available type of teams. So
Agreed.
Yep.
it's very fascinating. Some good stuff. We're already at an hour and 3 minutes. We don't want to keep our listeners too much longer, but I do want to ask real quick predictions on round 2 series. Let's start with Boston versus Milwaukee. Milwaukee is now up 1-0. Who you guys taking in the series?
Boston in 7.
Sticking with Boston. Yep.
See, I'm rooting for Boston, but I think the Bucks are still going to do it. Giannis is that guy. Give me the Bucks in 7.
I'll take Boston as well. The other series out east, Philly versus Miami.
Yeesh.
This one's tough, but assuming that Embiid is banged up, I think this is another 6 or 7 game series, but give me Miami in 6.
He's not playing game 1 and 2, right?
Yeah. I think that's correct.
He is concussed.
I think James Harden says shh to all the haters.
Oh, you're taking Philly?
Yeah.
There
Justin?
you go.
Press X for doubt. I'm going with the Heat.
I think I'm going Heat as well. Joel being out is just, I think, too big of a blow. Out west, we already have the Golden State Warriors up 1-0 on Memphis. Who do you guys got in this one?
This is such a fun series.
Warriors. Memphis is too young. We've said it.
Yeah. Give me Warriors in 7. I think it's a 7-game series. This is going to be like very reminiscent, very similar of the finals 2013 or 2012 OKC Thunder.
I'm picking the Warriors as well. but I don't think it goes 7. I think they get it over more quickly.
I'm with you, Justin. I got Warriors in 5 or 6.
Ooh.
I think
if
it's gonna
Memphis
be-
was
to
gonna
use
win
an
the game
OKC
today was it.
Yeah. I think to use an OKC analogy, Taylor, it's going to be more like the Thunder Mavs Western Conference Finals series.
That year before, 2011.
It was close. They showed fight, but at the end, it was over pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yep. The last series out west, Phoenix Suns versus Dallas Mavericks.
I'm going Suns. I think the optimism of Devin Booker coming back, and I never trust the Mavs.
Luka banged up also. Yeah, I know Booker missed time, but I'm also rooting for the Suns. I want to see CP3 get that ring. So I think Suns in like 6 is probably pretty fair.
Suns in 6.
I'll take Suns in 6 as well. The Suns just when
Cue
you can
the
throw
sounder,
Mikal
Suns in
Bridges
6.
whenever you can throw Mikal Bridges at one guy and Jay Crowder at the other and have Ayton on your back line. It's just a really good defensive team. You know, there's not a lot of teams in the playoffs that have 2 really high quality defenders that they can throw out and just lock somebody up. And I think that gives, especially on the wing,
But
that
being
gives
able
the
to
Suns
control the
so
pace on the
much.
offensive end of the floor too, right? Like, obviously the game slows
You
down
got
the
the point
opposite end of the
guard,
floor.
man. 14 of 14, just
Right.
Well,
absurd.
I think Chris Paul defensively might be the difference. Jalen Brunson is a thick boy, and he gets in the paint. I think Chris Paul is
Thick
like
with 2 C's.
Chris Paul's the guy that shuts that.
Yeah.
We forget how good of a defender Chris. Like he's old now.
Do you
but
put
Paul's
Chris
a good
on
You're right.
Brunson?
I do. He's a pest, dude.
You throw
Brunson-
No, but he's
Michael
getting old.
on
He got
Luka.
blown by CJ a lot in that first series.
But Brunson's not a blow by. He's a shifty, use his body, get into you,
and
bang out. guy.
powerful.
And I think Chris Paul's the ultimate reverse domino to that.
It's gonna be fascinating. There's a lot of chess pieces to move around. It's gonna be fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the podcast tonight. We really appreciate you. The live chat was absolutely hopping. That's awesome. We love to see it. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, thank you so much. Make sure to go subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, go sub to our YouTube channel. Watch us live every Sunday night at 9 p.m., every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We'll be back with you guys again Monday on Twitter with a Twitter space. And then Wednesday should be 8 p.m. We're tentatively scheduled to have another really cool guest on Wednesday. So our timing might be a little different. So just be on the lookout for that. But until then, you guys have a great week. Great start of your week. We will talk to you in about 24 hours on Twitter Spaces. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.